And welcome to the SME Symposium. Today we're talking about Doctors Without Borders. And as you guys can see, the title is Working with Doctors Without Borders, and we have a really exciting speaker on. I'm going to get started straight away. So first of all, I just quickly want to go over what the SME Symposium is for those joining us for the first time. So basically, we're a program set up by Study Medicine Europe, where we have monthly webinars, which are dedicated to keeping you up to date on relevant medical topics. Everyone is welcome. It's completely free if you're an SME student or a non-SME student. We have interesting doctors coming on speaking about interesting topics, and we have Q&As at the end. I'm your host, Mohsen Salim. Rightio. So this is today's topic. Dr. Hanif will be speaking. I will introduce him on in a minute. This is actually a very important and relevant topic right now, I suppose, especially with all that's going on in Ukraine and Doctors Without Borders having a huge and massive role in medical aid in general, just having a massive role in there. So I'd say it's purely a coincidence that we just sort of had this scheduled for now, because we had this scheduled long ago. So it's really nice, and because it's super relevant right now as well. So I'm just quickly going to move on and go over some of the more basic things I normally do in the introduction. Here's the schedule for today. It'll just be Dr. Hanif speaking, and then we'll be having a Q&A at the end. Also, the scholarship prize draw, I think a lot of you guys did ask me about this last time, and I just wanted to quickly go over it again before I hand it over. So basically what SME is doing is they're handing out 45 scholarships, which is amazing. And they do a lucky draw every month, and 5 people win a scholarship each month. So this is for the people who are basically the most recent applicants with SME. I'd say that's the right word. So basically the most recent batch. And for those of you who've not filled in an application for it, you can still do that at studymedicineeurope.com. So if you head over to their website, you should be able to see this article. And if you click on that little hyperlink over there in yellow, that'll take you to an application. You could fill that out and you can have a chance of winning a scholarship, which pays for half your tuition fee, I believe, for just half your tuition fee altogether, actually. Also, a big thank you to Liktorio, our partners. They're a great help, and you know, they're always there every month. It's an all-in-one study resource for medical students, and it combines learning science and medical education into one easy-to-use platform. Lovely thing, and it really works. So give it a shot, give it a look, and once you fill in the feedback form link at the end, what everyone will get is a 50% discount code. I think we also have some codes for people to have 6-month handouts, so we'll be giving those out as well. But if you are interested in giving it a shot, you'll get a 50% discount code once you fill in the feedback form. Ooh, I'm skipping ahead. Okay, guys, so I'm going to hand it over to Dr. Yasir Hanif. I'm just going to try and promote him to the panel. Bear with me. Okay. I'll just leave it there. Dr. Hanif, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine. Dr. Hanif, thank you so much for being here. Really looking forward to your talk. I'll hand it over to you. You should be able to share your screen and just knock yourself out with the crowd. I don't think we have a chat function, but people can ask questions during the lecture, and usually what we'll do is, if everybody who, I'm sure you all have a lot of questions, I know I do, pop your questions into the Q&A box.
All right, that's perfect. All right. Good evening, everyone. And sorry for the delay. It's a bit of technical issues from my side. I deeply apologize for that. My name is Dr. Yasser. I'm one of the orthopedic doctors. I work in the Kettering General Hospital. My friend Mohsin contacted me a couple of days ago and discussed about my experience with working with my Doctors Without Borders. I remember it was like back in a couple of years ago when I finished my internship in India, which is equivalent to FY2 in UK. So after that, I started working with Doctors Without Borders just to get more experience and knowledge about the medical field. So we'll talk about the same experience today. It's just a sharing of moments with you guys, if that's okay. All right, so if you can go with next slide. So Doctors Without Borders, it's a French organization which is called as Médecins Sans Frontières, which is equivalent to Doctors Without Borders in English terms. So you can see this logo, which is shown on the screen. That's quite famous for the MSF, or Doctors Without Borders. And yeah, so we'll talk about it today. Next. So Doctors Without Borders, or MSF, was founded in 1971 when a couple of French doctors and the journalists who were working in Nigeria as freelance and humanitarian basis, they found that it was seeing the people suffering the atrocities of the war and lacking the basic primary medical health care in Nigeria. They organized themselves on the basis of humanitarian aid, and they formed what we call now as MSF. Next. So starting from Nigeria, by a couple of doctors and journalists who worked together, they would have never believed that the organization will grow so famous and so large that at the moment, I roughly estimate that it's 72 countries the MSF is right now working, and a list you can see right now where the MSF is currently having its ongoing operations and providing medical care and help to all the people who are in need of it. So yeah, next slide. So every organization, every hospital, every trust has its principles. MSF, or Doctors Without Borders, it's just the primary for humanitarian actions. It provides basic medical care, help for the people who are in need, who are suffering the war atrocities, who are in the calamities. So all those things are provided, they're free of any religious or moral agenda. It's not like there's no discrimination on the basis of religion, on the basis of which country you belong, on the basis of color or caste or anything. It's just we provide whosoever is in need of help. And second is non-partisan. I think everyone knows about that. And we made possible by working up donations from the private organizations as opposed to the government. Like government-funded institutions, they usually work in the countries and they're more concerned to the citizens. But places which are war-torn or which are undergoing disturbances, the governments may not be functioning properly. So in those areas, in those situations, MSF is a very ideal example where they provide the basic help which people need at that time. And even the governments are dissolved, or there's a coup going on, for example, or anything like that. And acting as an advocate on the behalf of refugees, like people who are fleeing from the countries. Like the recent example, we see that Ukrainian war, the people are running from Ukraine to save their lives from the atrocities of the war right now going in the Ukraine. So all those people, they try to flee and go to the other countries, the neighboring countries. And I'm sure MSF right now is providing help in those areas for the people who are in need. In a large country where a small segment of population, or what we call as minorities, who are oppressed, who are subordinated, and obviously they lack the basic facilities provided by government. So MSF comes in action and gives a helping hand for those minorities in the countries. And obviously oppressed. Anyone could give a helping hand to oppressed. It doesn't matter where they are. Right, next slide. So yeah, obviously, as I mentioned, like we provide the basic medical care regardless of the ability to pay. As I mentioned in the previous slide, that the primary aim is to provide help for the people who are oppressed, who are having difficult situations, who are at the, what we call as at the wrong time, at wrong place. So definitely they are not in a they're not in a situation, or they're not in the ability to pay for the medical aid or medical help they require. So definitely we have to give them helping hand when they're not able to pay. And definitely and most of the times it's free of cost. We try to help as much as our resources or as our donations raise, we try to help. It's just like we get the people who have the facilities, who have the money, we channel that money to the people who are in need of the money, who are in need of the medical care, who are in need of the help, sanitation, and many other things that we provide. Equal sharing of scientific knowledge and advancement. It's not always about providing. Some people, the native people, minorities, or people who are actually in the bad situation, or on the, for example, people who live in a country and have a bad military operations going on there, they are also well able. They know the region very well. They can provide some scientific knowledge and understanding of the area where we are going to operate. So it's more of like helping each other to provide the best for the people and work to decrease the prices of drugs and medicines and treatment. Sometimes when in the times of peace, when there's no disturbances going on in the region, so what we try to do as MSF, we try to reduce the basic costs, we try to reduce the basic necessities, what the people need. Obviously, people who come from the lowest income strata in the society, they will definitely need the same medicine. Like obviously, for example, if a person has hypertension, it doesn't matter whether the person is rich, or person is in the middle age, middle income group, or the person can be in the low income strata. The people from the low income strata, they can't afford obviously the medicine that are available in the market on high prices. So we try to help those people and provide the treatment and the drugs with least possible prices available in the market in the times of peace. Right, next slide. So it's like, what comprises MSF actually, a Doctor Without Borders? It's primarily medical and as well as the non-medical staff. We primarily focus on providing medical care and help in the people that require. And along with that, we need organizations, we need financial advisors, we need people who provide the care and help, who also like suppliers. It comprises of a big organization. So yeah, it's said that on an average, every day globally, around 27,000 MSF staff will be at work. Well, plus and minus holidays and other things. But yeah, on an average, globally, any day, 27,000 MSF workers or volunteers will be functional at any particular day. Next slide, please. In the field, as I was just trying to exaggerate what comprises of MSF is, in the field, we have medical and non-medical. So medical personnel include physicians, surgeons, anesthesiologists, nurses, midwives, mental health specialists. I will try to focus on mental health specialists because it might seem that, okay, fine, in a war-torn country, but people where their calamity is going on, it's just the basic help, the medicines, the drugs that are going to help. But a majority of the population who are not suffering any injuries, they suffer from trauma of the wars. They suffer from the trauma of all those calamities going on in front of them. Imagine visualizing like hundreds, couple of bodies of people who you were known to, or you know those people are dead right now. You see your house burning, you see your neighborhood burning into ashes. So that comprises a lot of stress and what we call post-traumatic stress disorder. So mental health specialists are really in great help in those situations where they just, apart from providing the acute necessary, what we call primary aid, they try to help people and try to get them at least giving a calm mental peace. Obviously, we need to run some tests, blood tests, samples, in cases of outbreaks, like for example, cholera outbreak, the common cold, all those things, they need to be evaluated properly, what exactly is going on. And obviously, the epidemiological scientists who try to get into better idea where is the source of infection, what was the possible cause of transmission of particular disease in a community. So all those people work together in the medical field as a medical personnel section. And obviously the non-medical personnel, as I said, was logisticians, we have statisticians who try to compile the data and try to get meaningful ideas what exactly is going on from the statistics that has been collected from the people or from the epidemics or from the any bad situation that's going in a country. Obviously, the epidemiologists, they come in handy when we try to establish a refugee camp, for example, where water and sanitation is very important. Imagine a people of 1,000 people trying to make a camp for them. It has to be organized in very acute way, in a very well-designed manner, just to make sure that there's no epidemic, there's no outbreak of infection or anything like that, that could cause havoc to the whole of the camp. And obviously we have financial advisors or administrators who make sure that there's a constant flow, constant calculations going on, how much we get, how much we spend, just to make sure we don't overdo or we don't underdo what we are supposed to do in a particular situation. Next slide, please. Thank you. The classical examples that I put in the slideshow is, I'm just trying to concentrate on the things that actually give the famous name to MSF. Like, for example, the armed conflicts and refugees and wars. For example, 1976, the war in Lebanon, in the northern Kivu region of it, and Democratic Republic of Congo. What we did there was, as organizations, well, obviously not me, but we call ourselves as a whole organization that treat the victims of violence, guns, bombs, and other calamities. We'll provide the shelter, food, water for those people who were displaced by violence, healthcare to the displaced as well, and as I mentioned, where mental health were also addressed. It's a huge issue. I have seen this one personally and experienced this one. So yeah. For another example, as I was saying, that epidemics like 1996, there was meningitis epidemic in Nigeria, for example, and another one was like Bissau, there was a cholera recently. So obviously treatment was provided, antibiotics were given, tests were run, statisticians and epidemiologists come into action, and they try to evaluate the data for the further researches. 1984, the third one is like Ethiopia famine. Obviously, we get what simple, very good thing is called ready-of-use food. It is more of like collection of the food that's ready to use and trying to distribute in the people who are actually starving, who haven't had a single morsel in a couple of weeks or a couple of days, just starving. So yeah, that helped actually with those people. So these are the three major incidents actually from where the MSF got its fame and name, and that's how the organization evolved, what we call right now today in the world as MSF. Next slide, please. As the organizations grew and the people, more and more people across the whole world came to know the noble work and the great efforts the people in the MSF provided where the actual help was required, keeping their lives in hand and, you know, trying to go through all those places, disturbed areas where no one would like to go, even in the wildest dreams, providing help for the people who need it, providing food for the starving people, nutrition, and establishing camps for all those people. So definitely, this is a huge things that whole organization, the people from different countries put all their efforts, all the energy all together. And definitely, in 1999, MSF, Doctor Without Borders, was awarded as a Nobel Prize for Peace. Obviously, when you try to provide things which people actually need, and you are unbiased about what you're providing, to whom you are providing. Obviously, that's what you're trying to do. You are promoting peace, and yeah, one of the best awards, the Nobel Prize for Peace, was awarded for the organization in 1999. And apart from them, many other awards from UNICEF, from WHO, that have been awarded to the organizations for the constant and humanitarian efforts since 1991. Next slide, please. As I was saying, it's a non-government organizations that was started by a couple of doctors and journalists. So it's a private organization, and almost 90% of the organization funding comes from the private donors. Well, most of them are anonymous, so they just provide the funds, and the organization gets its backing from those people who are generous, who wants to help people. And the rest of the 10% comes from different countries and different governments, giving an annual budget approximately of $1.63 billion, which is obviously spent in helping the people everywhere in the world where they need the help. Next slide, please. From my point of experience with the MSF, I was back in India when I joined MSF as a volunteer doctor, physician in the field. And I'll be in a very good position for the people who are particularly from India. It works in a universal way, how to join or how does it operate. The standard for operation is almost universal in any country you want to work with it. But since I joined and I worked with MSF in India, so I might be helpful in that manner. So yeah, so MSF in India works, I think that will be universal. How you can join the organization, how you work, what exactly do in the organization. So I will be discussing a couple of incoming slides. Next slide, please. So as you can see from the slideshow, in India, I think it's almost similar in other countries as well. It might vary from situations or from time to time what exactly is required in a particular country at a particular time. So there are overseas projects going on. You can join them as well. If you don't want to leave your native country and you want to work in the same country where you belong, there are projects ongoing. So you can work in your own country, but be a part of MSF. This is more for the logisticians and epidemiologists who work from the office, or from the software engineers. They work from the office to make sure everything's keep on running. And global health and humanitarian medicine courses, they also provide some helping to the doctors as teaching courses and other things as well. Next slide, please. So, as I mentioned, I worked from India as a part of a MSF organization in 2016. I will just give a brief idea how actually you can be a part of MSF. I think it's almost similar in every country, as I mentioned. So the recruitment process works in 5 stages. So the 5 stages included in the recruitment are as, if you go to your online portal for your native country where you belong, you can search for MSF recruitments on the website, from the internet, and you can go to the website. That will take you to the main page, which is called application. You can fill up your application the columns that you require to fill up, and you can apply for a job or the vacancy that are available for the native country projects, for the overseas country projects, as much as there will be availabilities available on the internet. So first step includes application and uploading your CV. That's sharing your CV with the people who as recruiters in the MSF. If you are selected as a candidate, you will be called in for interview. That's the second step. So first step will be application, CV. Second step will be telephonic interview. So they will give you a call and a brief interview regarding your experience, regarding what your motives are, regarding what you thrive for, what your specialty is. A brief interview will be held over telephone. If you pass that telephonic interview and they are interested in the help that you're provided, then you will be called for an assessment. That's the step 3, which is called assessment center appointment, where you will be assessed on many things like what's your behavioral flexibility, results and quality orientation, how good are you at cooperation and teamwork, because obviously you work as a team, not an individual person in MSF. Security awareness and management, and obviously if you work in such a disturbed area, you have to have a very good stress management. So yeah, definitely will be marked on that as well. If the assessment looks fine, then they will also do a reference check from the places that you have worked, the people you have worked with in different hospitals or organizations. After that, if everything goes fine, then definitely you'll be selected. That's step number 4, selection. And selection will be followed by induction, in which you will be welcomed to the organization. You'll be given a brief idea how organization works, what are the components. And if you have opted for overseas work or overseas projects, you want to go to a country where the actual things are going on, for example, right now, Ukraine, so then you will be departure. So there will be departure, you will be sent with your team to start the help that's needed in the region. So I think that's how it works anywhere in any country. The organization is one and the same, the recruitment process same. So yeah, that's how it should be actually working in any country. But for India, that's definitely these are the steps. That's how it actually works, how you are recruited, how you are involved with the organization. Next slide, please. Oh, well, a little slide about my experience while working with MSF. Like, as I mentioned, like, I was interested in providing some help for the people in the far-flung areas in Kashmir, which is the disputed region between India and Pakistan. So yeah, after my internship from the medical school, I applied online application, I got an interview, and then assessment center was assessed for all the things that I mentioned in the previous slide. And obviously, I didn't want to work in overseas projects, so I was stationed, I think it was like 150 kilometers from my house, but it was quite mountainous. Like, yeah, most of the travel was from over the horses, or most of the terrains were inaccessible by road, so you had to trek them to reach the people who are actually in need. So that's how I started working. It was a very interesting experience of my life. So we used to go every morning, we just go from the base camp, right about like 50 kilometers up to the mountains, where there was our second base camp. So from the first base camp, we'll get all the supplies in the cargoes and the trucks, and which were enlisted by the people who in the second base camp uphill. So from there, we'll just get the horses or donkeys to get all the medical supplies on them, and rode uphill almost like, I don't know, 15 to 20 kilometers up. It was very difficult terrain. From there, we'll just get those small backpacks and we'll just trek. Thing like 10 kilometers. I think it was very tedious day to reach the final third base camp up to the mountains where people were actually living, or they couldn't just move. And it was very disturbing point that time. So we just provide the medicines as much as we could. And yeah, it was very good, and try to educate people, not only just help, but try to educate people with what kind of medicine works in what situations, help them with housing, provide tents. Literally they had nothing else to go, nowhere to go, and nowhere to stay. So provide some tents, make some little camp there for housing, and educate them about how to prevent any epidemic or spread of infection in the people. And obviously the people who were actually in need of medical help, the treatment were provided for those people. Well, I gained invaluable experience. I think so far it's been the most stressful period for me, because it was kind of a crash course where I had to go through all the extremes of medical science to put in, and plus when your resources are minimal, like you have to deal with it at the minimal resources at a place where there's nothing else that you can do. So it actually made me realize how blessed people are in normal cities or normal peaceful countries where they have access to everything. And that made me realize how important it is to be a very sensible and good doctor to provide people help. Yes, I would admit it was a very, as I mentioned, stressful and disturbed period for me as well, to see people suffering the calamities and atrocities and the war, and to see how people and how the war can turn you into a bad person, fill you with anger, fill you with hatred. But definitely at the same time, you understand and realize how important it is to be peaceful and loving, just to make sure that everyone's happy and healthy. And definitely made some lifelong friends. I'm still in contact with them. Any way I can help, I try to provide my help. Next slide, please. And the present, well, everything you give to the society, some good things come back to you. If you give some good things to people who are in need, it's not the needy people, the actual people who are in need. They're not only on the taking side. Something is always given back to you. It's just like Newton's third law. If you give something good to people, you will always get good from them as well. And if you do bad, you get bad as well. So yeah, as I was helping people, my work, my efforts were recognized. I got a very good certificate from MSF. It's obviously it's an international organization, and a little kind of good gesture or token from this organization gave me a very great boost in my CV. And anytime I would show and tell people I worked in MSF and I've given my time and given my efforts, and definitely it was valuable, and it was recognized by the people to whom I was dealing with. And it encouraged me to go for the further training, specialty trainings. And I did my PLAB exam to come to UK to get into one of the best medical systems in the world, to learn more, only to provide people more from the minimal resources that I might have in future. And I'm currently working as a doctor in Kettering General Hospital, and it's been a good journey so far. And yeah, all right, thank you. Next slide. Right. Any questions, please let me know. I will try my best to answer.
Okay, so thank you so much, Dr. Hanif. In regards to questions, I think we have a lot of them, at least I do. One second, let me just get my camera on. Lovely. Thank you so much. Honestly, that was really, really great.
Oh, thank you.
I think it's always just been one of those wonders for medical students, especially because it's a bit like, just one of those things you hear about and, everybody knows about, but you just don't really know what it's like. And I think I've met a couple of doctors now from MSF, and they've all told me their experiences, and it's been very, very different compared to what I thought it was. But I think one reason I was motivated to get Dr. Hanif in here to speak to everyone was the more I spoke to doctors and the more they told me about their experience, the more it motivated me to actually move towards working in that area and, giving up my time or, investing my time really, to be honest, because when you go out there, you learn so much. So I think that's just one of the things we never come across, because I think it's always that, I always call it that Hollywood bias people have in their heads. So it's like, you're always watching that war movie and you see the doctor running around and, shouting at everyone and, telling everyone to get out of the way. And in reality, it's not, I hope it's not that situation in reality.
well, it's not that bad, honestly, but that reminds me of actually why I actually tried to be a part of it. And it was a very good experience. I watched that movie, what's called Saving the Private Ryan.
Yes.
So yeah, in that there's a doctor who would just run without talking. So yeah, it was a really good experience. Like I would be very honest, like one time there was shelling going on between the countries, and the military shelling was going on, and it was like it was a kind of war situation, and we'd be running to those people and trying to evacuate those people. You're not just a doctor that time. You try to salvage as much as possible the people, whatever they have, you just try to run them up. Yeah, that's how it works. So yeah, so it's a very good experience. I would be very honest, once you grow old and you're sitting down on the bench or maybe in a garden or somewhere, then you rewind back in your mind, like, what have I done in my life? And if this bit comes in your mind, you'll be like, wow, that was great. My life was worth it.
Yeah, and I think I love the fact that they've actually made it a reputable thing. Like you said, when you put it on your CV, it's one of those things that really stand out, and it makes people want to go and do the work. And I mean, it's fun being out there and having that experience, and at the same time because they're not going to offer you money, I know that much.
Yeah, it's, as I mentioned, like, I would love to work again with MSF, provided, like, if I'm given an opportunity, definitely. Now, if I go for it, I will be given an opportunity definitely to work for it. But yes, definitely, like, once in a while, everyone should give some efforts, give something back to people who don't know you, who don't have any links to you, but just forgive. Because as I mentioned, like, it comes back to you in such an unimaginable way. You will never understand how these things work. And like, being a doctor, I'm sure anyone who is looking at this slideshow or presentation right now, you're going to be a doctor, or you are already a doctor. That makes you special in a way that you have some capabilities that makes you different. Every profession has its own different capabilities, but ours is something which is very, what we call magical. You can take somebody's pain away with a simple injection. We can save somebody who is choking, tracheostomy. You can do many miraculous things. A single start dose of 300 milligrams of aspirin can save somebody's life in an MI. So, and I don't have to explain to you what you do in your medical field. Everyone knows what we're doing. But out there are people who actually, like, you can save all those people with a simple procedure, with a simple tablet. And that makes it so, memorable that you did actually. That's how it makes you great. It makes you give you a great feeling about yourself, at least. Yeah. You don't want to be a hero for other people, but deep inside, you look up to yourself and say, yeah, I did it.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Before we move on with the questions, I'm just quickly going to take a chance to go over very quickly the scholarships we are giving out. So here are all the names. As you guys can see, random name picker. This is not my website. It is a random website. And I'm just going to put in the number 5 over here because we're going to choose 5 winners today, and I'm going to let it pick 5 random names. And we have 5 winners. So I thought we had the same winners twice there. So I'm just going to highlight these and I'm going to pop them over here. And Bisma Khan, Sadia Hussein, Mary Hussein, Selin, Melger, Harrison, Robert Spencer, Kerr. You guys should get contacted by Study Medicine Europe, or you guys should better off even contact them if you want to get in touch with them sooner. And claim your scholarships. Congratulations.
Congratulations, guys. Yeah.
I also want to say a big thank you to Liktorio for being our sponsors today. And I want to ask everybody to fill in the feedback forms. They're super, super helpful for us. And basically, they are going to help us a lot in order to improve. So I'm just going to leave this up here and let you guys fill in the feedback forms. They're in the Q&A as well. You should be able to see them in the answered questions. Dr. Hanif, I do also have some other questions for you. Other people have asked me to ask you. How can students or doctors or just other civilians really get involved in helping MSF without actually being up there on the fields? What's the best way for them to do that?
Well, you don't necessarily need to be a doctor to work with or to help or to provide some helping hand in the MSF. You can register for as a volunteer, and volunteers are always required. As I mentioned, like if you have some basic medical knowledge, so definitely you will be a valuable asset for the operations that are carried or projects that are carried by the MSF in different parts. So I would say, if you want to, while you are doing your medical degree or you're just in a medical school, you can apply for as a volunteer for MSF. And definitely, as I mentioned, like for the applications, you can provide inputs for or applications for the volunteers, and volunteers are always more than welcome. Even as a doctor, I would say you're not treated as a doctor as like something special. You have to work as a kind of volunteer, work as a team, but only that at the end of the day, when it actually comes for the dissipation of medicine and treatment, then you are the primary source where the medicines are dissipated, or you are giving prescriptions, or you are giving medicine or actual treatment. But at the background, you work just as a volunteer. So you're not treated as something special. You work all together as a team. There will be next guys sitting to you, or maybe your best friend in the team who is a logisticians or statisticians, and they have no background with the medical science in terms of treatment and medicine. But yeah, then you will be doing the equal work, equal jobs, equal chores as a volunteer. So definitely apply for a volunteer, and we are and MSF are always requiring the help of volunteers. Just I would give a very example now with NHS, we always require the volunteers in NHS. And a simple basic thing, I would say like a volunteer in NHS hospital, taking medicine or like some medicines which are required by the or by the patients or the nurses in the ward, they take the medicine from pharmacy to the ward. And it's a great help, actually. You know how much help it is actually providing. You know, it takes a nurse to go from the ward to the pharmacy to get the medicines, come back. At the same time, the patients who are actually in need of this nurse, who are actually in need of the observations, who are actually in need of the giving the medicine, giving the injections, giving the IV infusions, that nurse is taken out just to get the medicines from pharmacy to the ward. But those, at the same time, if a non-medical personnel comes in handy as a volunteer and gets the medicine from the pharmacy to the ward, see, that nurse is saved. The nurse is in the ward, providing the treatment, providing the medicine. So don't isolate yourself as a group or as a loop. Even if you're a non-medical professional, or even if you're a medical student, you definitely are more than welcome, and you can provide in unimaginable countless ways to be a part of it. Sorry, I can't hear you.
Sorry, I left myself on mute there. I was going to say the other thing is fundraising as well, and I think that's a lot of things a lot of us can do very, very easily, because it's always like I said, this is the one reason I love about MSF having such a good reputation, and they've really, really worked really hard to maintain that over the years. Reason being is because they're really reputable. Like if I'm ever raising money for MSF, for whatever crisis it is, it's like I can happily raise money for them, because I know it's just that's smart charity for me, because they actually use their money really, really well, and really effectively, and they sort of spread that out in all the resources and all the different things people need. So there's definitely a lot you can do over there. Dr. Hanif, would you ever go back, especially now, like, I'm sure they're calling a lot of doctors to Ukraine even. So would you ever consider going back, and how would you go about that?
Yes, definitely. If I'm called in, I have actually put a message to, if I'm required, if I'm called. It's right now at the moment, I think it's more of like right now it's quite hot there, so it's difficult for them to actually organize the departure, to get the making a team up and make sure like how many members in the team they go, what functions and what actually you're going to do there. So I think they're in the process at the moment, but definitely if I'm called in, yes, I got my backpack ready and I can just take it and go. So definitely, yes, I'm ready.
And amazing. If you're affected while you're out there in the field, where you are, do you have that option of taking that time off, and sort of, because obviously I wouldn't even say so much getting hurt, but I met a doctor, and this was during the Ebola outbreak in Africa, and he was a neurologist. He was a neurologist in America, and he had such an issue getting time off afterwards that affected him. And I really, really felt for that, because I was just like, they should turn around and say, okay, you know what, he's kind of out there trying to help people. We should give him a few weeks off. But they were actually really strict with it. So I was super, super surprised. Does that get in the way in regards for doctors being able to get time off to actually go and do these things?
Well, it depends from hospital that you are working with, and the trust which you're working with. So for example, if I say I work in NHS Trust right now, and I apply for a leave, annual leave, and go and do my bit in Ukraine, for example, right now. Well, trust is not going to do anything with that, because trust, or my hospital that I'm working for, unless and until they are sending me as a part of project or something, a delegation or a team of doctors that our trust or our hospital is sending, definitely they're going to be a part of that, and you will be getting a good backing for your trip to the disturbed area. But the thing is, if you, as I said, like it's just something you are doing on your own behalf for the humanity. So definitely that neurologist from US, he did his part, he did his best, and he worked in a very, I'm sure he worked in a very harsh and life-threatening environment there where the Ebola epidemic was going on. But what he did is something that he did for his own soul, for his own peace of mind, and for the humanity. You don't have to show it off. Definitely, he did it for nothing. He did it for himself. Well, it depends on the hospital he's working for. If they were quite generous, if they would appreciate the efforts that he has given for the humanity, they should have given him some time off. But definitely, if the trust hasn't this policy, then definitely you had to come back and work as your normal routine rota. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Make it quite difficult in that sense, obviously, when you're trying to manage both lives, because you really are living both lives. That's the thing. Because I remember a lot of the doctors always like telling me, we come back. That's the difference. We come back. So he's like, that's always been a motivator, like for them when they go there, like, because they're always telling me that, you know, at the end of the day, you're coming home and you have a home to come to. So as long as you keep that in mind, like it's just one of those things that it really pushes you out there. And I think the other thing I got told quite a lot of, and I read quite a lot of, is um, you'll see a lot of things you won't see in the West, or even just, you know, in more developed countries. Is that true? And to like what extent is that true?
It is true. That's what I said, like that changed my whole life. The same example I was telling you, like aspirin tablet can save somebody's life. And how simple is it, like calling it 300 milligrams of aspirin? I've seen people dying for 300 milligrams of aspirin. I've seen it. And it's so difficult and so weird in some parts of the country or some parts of the world that you will actually feel like, you know, a simple thing, a simple advice, a simple tablet can literally save somebody's life. It is that bad as compared to the West. We haven't come across, since I've been working in UK, haven't come across a simple scenario, any kind of situation or any kind of scenario that a simple thing like that can make a huge difference in anybody's life in here. But definitely back in the third world countries or the war-torn countries, or the people or the countries which are involved in basic calamities, for example, earthquake or floods, things can go bad, really bad, and simple things can make a huge difference in anybody's life. And I've seen like those things, they actually really matter a lot. You wouldn't say like a simple advice of saying like the same thing, like hand washing and educating people. Like most of the people, they don't even know in the most of the parts of the third world country, even now, right now, they don't understand the significance of hand washing. They don't understand the significance of having separate sanitation, a proper toilet, what impact it has on your own life. People in the third world countries and the countries in the east side, a newborn baby, his placental portion is tapped with the cow dung just to bless the kid. Imagine, it's right now happening in some parts of the country. And you understand that cow dung is a source of so many bad infections. It's literally screaming for infections. And a simple advice, making them understand, not fighting with their beliefs or religion issues or whatever, but making them understand. And people listen to you. When you come with the authority that you are a doctor, they understand and listen to you. And when you give them a very good advice and understanding, a simple thing can make a huge change in the people. The infant mortality rate will come down. Those kids will be salvaged from the false practices. So I'll give you a simple example right now. So many things are going on that needs a simple advice. So you don't need to show you a heroic gloves or maybe clippers or something. You just, a simple advice can make huge impact on people's life in those parts of the world. Yeah.
No, I absolutely agree. And I have to ask you this. So, what's your opinions on the situation in Ukraine, and how is that affecting the just the general health of the population over there that's affected by the conflict? And where do you see that going?
As a doctor,
It's a tough one, I know. I had to ask you it. I had to ask you it.
well, I'll be very honest. I don't see countries fighting. I don't see politicians making comments. I don't see what they are gaining or what they are losing. All I see is a guy who's crying for his wife who just died in a bomb blast. All I see children's taken away from their parents. All I see old men dragging themselves down and leaving behind a burning house where they had lived for almost like 70, 80 years. I see human sufferings. I don't see anything else. And definitely I just want to be a person who just help those people, who just try to stitch that wound of a bleeding person. It doesn't matter whether it's a soldier, whether it's a civilian, whether it's a Russian, whether it's a Ukrainian. They all fight for nothing. Just there's no cause for the fight. You can't achieve peace by fighting wars, actually, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So
This is the thing where it, especially doctors, because a lot of my friends now, they're medical students who were in Ukraine and they've been affected. And, you know, most of them have transferred and they'll continue their education and they'll become doctors. And, you know, it's worrying because, you know, you think about it and then, you know, one day they're going to come across a Russian or one day they're going to come across a Ukrainian or something like that, you know, and they obviously sort of had to stay and had to get so deeply affected by, you know, the conflict happening. So it's obviously like even talking to them is so difficult. Like when you see their situation, I tell them, try not to have feelings about it. And at the same time, I feel ridiculous asking them not to have feelings about it, you know, because it's one way or the other. So it's always hard because it's those two conflicts. It's a conflict between those two concepts in medicine where it tells you, okay, you're a doctor, you're a healer, you just go and you heal, and you shouldn't be feeling about that. And then there's obviously the compassion of humanity where you see somebody who's hurt and you want to help them. Yeah, you know, you don't really know what to tell a lot of the students over here. So actually that's what I wanted to finish off with. And I wanted to ask you, what's your message to the students, especially the Ukrainian students who are affected by the conflict and who've had to move away from their studies and move away from their homes?
yes, a general message to all the people and all the medical students who are right now in the medical schools, people who have been displaced by the ongoing conflict between the different countries, and they have stopped in their medical studies or medical schools right now at the moment. I would just say you have to stand, you have to stay strong, because nothing bad stays forever. The impression and the miseries of any war or any conflict, they're going to be an end of anything that's going on right now. Just spend your time wisely. Stay away from the hatred that the politicians, that the people, the propaganda going on from either of the countries, or either the sides, or either of the ideologies. Just stay away from that, because at the end of the day, you are evolving as a doctor, okay? And as Mohsin said, humanity and being a doctor or medical professional, that superimpose each other, the good qualities as a healer. So you can't have biased thinking at the same time. You can't be a healer at the same time you have a little grudge or a little hatred against any other person in the world. So you can just choose one path, and the path that you already chosen, that you're giving your years of your life to be a healer, irrespective of religion, irrespective of region, caste, creed, or anything else. Just stay strong, study hard, because obviously medicine is not easy. You have to give a lot of more than time. It's effort, sweat, blood, a little bit of money, obviously, and all those things. But yeah, definitely. Once you are in medical school, you will leave as a doctor, but be a good doctor, be a passionate doctor, be a responsible doctor who follows rules and regulations of medical boards as well as the ethics and beliefs of humanity. That should be my last message. Thank you for listening, everyone.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hanif. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you for the talk just in general. I'm sure a lot of us have a big change in perspective because of it. Guys, thank you all for being here. I know it's very late on Wednesday night, so everybody probably has class tomorrow, so I'll let everyone go. But thank you again, Dr. Hanif. Thanks for being here, and we hope to have you on again. I think that's us for tonight. Thank you again.
Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
Good night, guys.